horror cinema has many monsters. One of the most enduring is the robotic monster. Usually, these bad guys are considered part of the sci-fi genre, and I'd agree with that assessment. But then, back in August 2018, author Sam Sykes posted a poll on Twitter. He asked if the Terminator was an action movie or a horror movie. As you can see, the result was roughly 2/3 in the action movie category. I was about to vote action as well, but then I started thinking. And thinking. And thinking. And holy shit! The Terminator is a horror movie! I changed my vote. I now consider the Terminator to be a horror film, and a damn excellent one at that. Yes, it is also action, but James Cameron uses cinematic horror language throughout. No wonder really, as the writer-director came from the horror-centric Roger Corman school of filmmaking, having worked as a special effects artist and matte painter on several low-budget genre films. Monsters are the domain of horror films, but it is also a big part of science fiction. It is just that the monsters are mechanical and usually man-made. But how is that different from Frankenstein-type creations? So let's explore the history of these monsters and try to figure out why robotic monsters are so scary. The earliest cinematic robots were dangerous creations, used to do the bidding of their masters, and throughout film history, this has been a common trope. One of the most interesting examples of the robotic enemy trope is in the German sci-fi epic Metropolis, where a robot replaces an underground spiritual leader in order to invoke chaos. Chaos that benefits the rich in their mission to subjugate the poor. Shit also goes wrong, as the robot's inventor has his own private motives, driven by jealousy and resentment against his benefactor. But what's really fascinating about Robot Maria is that she truly is the embodiment of an evil robot, one seemingly capable of independent thought. She doesn't break with her masters, as most artificial intelligences do in this genre, but she instead relishes in the chaos she sows on the world of Metropolis. Many robotic monsters followed in her wake. They were killing machines, simply out to murder and maim. That's the very basic definition of a monster. I can think of several cinematic creations that do exactly the same. There really isn't much difference between the Terminator and Jason Voorhees, at least not in terms of their motivation. In fact, robot monsters often take on animalistic traits. We see it in the man in gorilla suit creation in Robot Monster, a goofy sci-fi film considered among the worst movies ever made. We see it in the short-lived TV series Nightfliers, where a spider-bot drone goes on a rampage, lasering people to death. We see it in Red Planet, where a service bot goes nuts and starts hunting the astronauts like some great predatory cat. And we see it in The Matrix, where a robot hunting the Nebuchadnezzar takes on the form of an aquatic terror. So we have robots as weaponized extensions of human will, or of animal predatory instinct. And they are designed to look like creatures we already know to fear.
Shh, stay down and follow me.
But what if we assign them an intelligence of their own, one based in free will? In many cases, these science fiction stories question the concept of artificial intelligence, often taking the point of view of the robot itself, as it comes to terms with its own empathy and emotions. But for the purposes of horror, let's look closer at those cases where the artificial intelligence is capable of thought, but chooses an evil path. This is one of our big societal fears. We know we will eventually create machines that can outthink us. And from history, we know when two cultures meet, the dominant culture decimates the non-dominant one. This is the human way. And since machines are extensions of us humans, at least in cinema they are, then it follows that once the machines become superior to us, They will seek to decimate or subjugate us. And if the machines become all-powerful, they become like gods. And we humans have been afraid of God throughout our existence, both in monotheistic and polytheistic societies. Greek gods wreaked havoc on the lives of normal people, and the Christian God hasn't been all cookies and sunshine either. But we were more okay with being their subjects, because these gods created us in their images. So thus, it follows that they were at least somewhat sympathetic to our plight. The same cannot be said for all-powerful creations the likes of Skynet. Under these new computer gods, we humans were redundant, or at best, we were a resource to be harvested. In the Terminator series, the robotic monsters want us gone so they can inherit the Earth, and they use the man-made horror of nuclear weapons to accomplish it. In The Matrix, the centralized power uses humans as batteries, putting their human subjects in a virtual world. In I, Robot, a highly underrated sci-fi film, the central computer intelligence Vicky seeks to subjugate humans because we're too volatile to be left to our own devices. Only the empathically attuned robot Sonny and his anti-robot cyborg buddy Del Spooner can stop it. They're both highly humane characters. The robot in this case is more humane than most humans, and the cyborg struggles with the concept of now being partially machine. This brings us to the cyborg subgenre. Personally, I'm of the opinion that we humans will evolve ourselves either genetically or mechanically long before an AI becomes powerful enough to wipe us out. But that's not necessarily good news. What if, when we change ourselves, we become too powerful, or we lose touch with our humanity? It's a perfectly valid fear. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, if some of us become Superman, what happens to the rest of us? Who will be left behind? The idea of cyborgs is also the idea of the superhero genre. Iron Man is mechanically enhanced, and he is a good guy, but make a list of all the billionaires in the world, and you'll likely also get a list of people willing to walk over corpses for a quick buck. If cyborgs become a reality, then it follows that the richest among us will be the pioneers. Perhaps they will live long enough to be corrupted, to the point where lifespan doesn't really mean anything to them anymore. Or, in the case of the highly compelling upgrade, they'll trade away responsibilities in order to achieve their own happiness virtually, leaving behind an organic monster with robotic powers for the rest of the world to deal with.
A fake world is a lot less painful than a real one.
Or, like in Nightfliers, cruel people will find a way to live on as ghosts in the machine, sowing terror upon those of us who remain flesh and blood. In short, no matter which way we cut it, robots are scary, and they belong, subversively, in the horror genre, because there's a high risk that once they become an everyday reality,
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
they will take on the most dominant, aggressive, and cruel traits of human beings.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
They can become predators. They can become gods. They can become supermen, but not in the Clark Kent tradition. What unifies them is their lack of empathy and their absence of understanding. No wonder we are so scared of them. Normally, this would be where I'd end the episode, but I don't believe every horror tale should have a downer ending. Humans often win in these films, killing off the robotic threat. But let's not be naive. If we truly create things like Skynet and Vicky and HAL 9000, then we have little chance of beating them. There's a quote I like from Eliezer Yudkowsky. By far the greatest danger of artificial intelligence is that people conclude too early that they understand it. We do think we understand artificial intelligence, and we haven't even dipped our toe beneath the surface yet. Shit, come to think of it, we hardly understand human intelligence. We are, as a species, in our infancy, and provided we don't destroy ourselves first, we can accomplish wonders. And as our civilization building skills show, we create wonders when we choose collaboration, putting our faith in intelligence and compassion. This leads us to becoming more reliant on empathy. Civilization cannot exist without a certain measure of it, and the more empathy displayed, the more productive and more intelligent a society can grow. So who's to say that the artificial intelligences we create, if they are truly smarter than us, that they can't also be more empathetic? If for no other reason that it benefits them in the long run. Empathy is the gift that keeps on giving, and artificial intelligences and robots could learn this early on. So while robot monsters today are scary, because we know the evils of men can be used technologically, we also see evidence in our art that a brighter future is possible, one where empathy is a core part of robots.
I know now why you cry. But it's something I can never do.
Because the robots will adopt the best strategies of survival. And we humans have survived because of intelligence and empathy. My name is Wolfcraft. This is History of Horror. If you liked the episode, I'd sure appreciate a like, share, and subscribe. Join me next time for episode 18, Going Apeshit, the gorilla as horror icon. If you want to check out some of my other works, I'm an author. My science fiction novel God of Desolation is currently available on Amazon, and my mystery novel Richly Drawn will soon be available at inkshares.com. Thanks a plenty.